what's a popular self-care trend is actually toxic. Before we start with the first story, please hit subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Story 1. Only doing things that feel good or spark joy. Sometimes for your own long-term health and future, you must do things that aren't super duper fun. This so much. Self-care means taking care of yourself. It's not treating yourself. Spoiling yourself from time to time is a great reward if that's your thing. But taking care of yourself means being an adult and doing the tough stuff too. I'm not on social media anymore, so I don't know if it's still the same, but self-care at one point was basically being an alcoholic and bubble baths. And I'm so sick of be kind to yourself, because people seem to mean it's okay to shy away from anything even mildly unpleasant. Being kind to myself, to me, means doing something tough or necessary now so future me can take a break. I'm not saying that I force myself to do things when I'm really not feeling up to it, but if I went by self-care standards, I'd never feel up to it. Story 2. Radical selfishness to the point that you don't think you should ever have to compromise, sacrifice, be inconvenienced by, or have an imperfect interaction with someone. I swear to God, the blatant selfishness I've seen under the guise of protecting your boundaries. Yes, boundaries are important, but sometimes you should show up even when you're not in the perfect mood. Sometimes you should do the favor without keeping score. And sometimes you should have the uncomfortable conversation, even though you'd rather stick your head in the sand to protect your peace. I completely forgot where I read, saw, heard this, but it was something along the lines of, these people are going to end up with perfect boundaries and no friends. And that rang so true for me. Story 3. Thinking so highly of yourself that constructive criticism appears to be hateful. I was on a Discord for artists and someone posted to the ArtCrit server asking what could be improved. When someone gave her a bunch of advice and sources in a super respectful way, she goes, "Can you stop? Bitch, did I ask?" Everyone was just like, "Yes, you literally did." IDK. I feel like there's some young beginner artists who think they're going to post their work for Crit and everyone is going to be like, "No, it's the most perfect thing ever created. No artist in history has made something so beautiful." You're never done improving, and even professionals expect feedback when they ask for it. Story 4. Avoiding difficult conversations in the name of positive vibes. My entire family is like this. I didn't realize how bad it was until I started dating my husband. As an outsider looking in, he was able to see just how allergic to negativity we are, and conflict of any kind. I love my family dearly, but it sucks not being able to just sit down with them and have an honest conversation about how maybe they stepped on our toes or did something that upset us. It became extremely apparent during the pandemic. I remember feeling upset with something my mom had said, and it festered in me for months. It was interfering with my relationship with her, which was especially distressing for me because she's one of my closest friends. I remember venting to my dad about it, wanting to know how to approach the subject with her. His advice was to simply not bring it up at all. I love my dad, but I was really disappointed by his solution. Story 5. Weaponized boundaries. My boundary is that you do everything I say. Weaponizing therapy language has become a popular abuse tactic. Edit to say, I think a lot of these abusers don't even know what a boundary is. A boundary does not control the other party, because you can't control how other people act. A boundary only says what you will do. X, my boundary is I don't want you to talk to me about Bob, not a boundary. My boundary is if you try to talk to me about Bob, I will get up and leave or hang up. A boundary. And then you have to actually do that if they keep talking about Bob, not have a meltdown screaming temper tantrum about how you violated their boundaries. Story 6. That constant pressure to always look on the bright side and be positive no matter what. A friend of mine, Jessie, went through a really tough time, and every time she tried to open up about how she was feeling, people just told her to stay positive or look on the bright side instead of helping. Sometimes it's okay to feel down and talk about it, because forcing positivity can actually make things worse. Also, sometimes you just need to talk to a friend. You don't want advice or to be told to go get therapy. Sometimes you just need to say something out loud to someone else. And the same people who say this, look at the bright side stuff, will later leave the person who wants to talk about their problems because they consider the person too negative. Everyone should have the right to open up and have someone actually listen to their problems. Story 7. I have depression and hit a really bad spot a couple of years ago. that I'm honestly only barely clawing my way out of now. And while I definitely made mistakes and took some poor care of several of my friendships during that time, I got dumped by my two oldest friends, in part because I was no fun to be around anymore and started having nothing of substance to say. Funny that I started only interacting superficially with you when you'd say stuff like, well, if you feel like you're going to be rejected by a professional development program I was applying for, then I guess you will. I know there's balance to be struck, and I know I've failed at that a bunch, but it's incredible to me that people who you've known for 2 decades can't acknowledge that you're in crisis with a mental illness. Continue judging you by normal standards and being constantly disappointed that you are failing their evaluations. Story 8. Better help. My first BH therapist felt that all women should strive to be good wives and mothers, and told me COVID would disappear after the 2020 election. Noped out of that guy. The second BH therapist that I reached out to, after expressing my very normal reasons for seeking therapy, told me that I had way deeper problems than she could deal with, and to find someone qualified to help me with my issues. The third therapist, however, was a genius. She easily saw right through all my issues and down to the roots, and gave me the most excellent and helpful advice any therapist had ever given me. I did feel bad for her because she was always working and would sometimes have to eat during our sessions. Maybe it wasn't professional, but she did keep it as minimally distracting as possible, and if she's busting ass like that to make ends meet, and she did amazing work. Let the woman eat. Story 9. Letting your children do a beauty regime. 9-year-olds do not need to exfoliate, use night cream and day serum, and beg their mommy to spend $50 on special face potions and silk pillowcases, slap some sunscreen and a big hat on them, and keep them the off social media. Ex-friends' twin daughters were in 4th grade turning 10. They said they wanted skincare stuff for their birthday. My daughter, the same age and class, doesn't have a phone, so she's not into the whole social media thing yet, and doesn't yet go in for the makeup and skincare stuff. So I didn't realize they meant real products. I got them a bunch of the inexpensive drugstore stuff like St. Ives. They were not impressed, LOL, I realized when another friend's daughter, turning 11 the same year, was asking her mom for a 70 toner. The whole thing blew my mind. Story 10. Toxic positivity encourages people to always maintain a positive mindset, no matter what they are going through. While positivity can be beneficial, forcing yourself to be positive all the time can lead to the suppression of real emotions, denial of struggles, and avoidance of necessary conversations about mental health. This can result in feelings of guilt, shame, and isolation when negative emotions inevitably arise. True self-care involves acknowledging and processing all emotions, both positive and negative, rather than dismissing or invalidating them in the name of positivity. Story 11. Avoiding difficult conversations. Literally, my uncle. He's always accidentally crossing boundaries and never takes accountability because he's allergic to anything negative and upsetting. My cousins and I call it toxic positivity. Up until recently, it wasn't a big deal because the boundaries he crossed were little and forgivable. But he crossed such a major boundary with me and my sibling and our cousins. He decided to go something that was going to negatively impact all of us and disrupt our lives. My cousins and I are roommates, but no matter how many times we begged him to talk to us about it so we could work together to figure out a solution as a family, he shut us out and ignored all of our calls and texts. Now everyone in our family keeps telling us to just forgive him because he's going through a rough time, but I literally cannot. He won't even acknowledge that he's done something wrong or that he's hurt us. And now I'm prepared to cut him out of my life despite being one of my favorite uncles, and he doesn't even know it because he's allergic to hard conversations. I know I'm going to be made out to be the bad guy for not just forgiving him and easing the stressful situation, but I'm prepared to live with that. Story 12. Neglecting sleep to get ahead in school or your career. Not getting enough sleep will catch up to you. Making a habit of cutting sleep during the week and trying to make it up on the weekend is stupid. Pulling an all-nighter to finish a project in school is a completely different task. There are times when you can't do it until you know how to, and the school wants a project done on a certain timeline, but only teaches you everything you need, so you really can't start until there isn't enough time to work and get the project finished. So, you give up sleeping for a night and then sleep later on. Working a work problem for 24 hours because your team was hired to solve this kind of problem is completely different than trying to get by with 4 hours sleep every night on a normal week. Firemen do it, people do it, police do it, military do it, and then when the crisis is over, you can sleep for as long as your body wants without alarms. And just a side note, in the 1960s they put people in rooms with no clocks, no way to know if it was daylight or dark out. Then, they had them work on projects. Most people started running a much longer day, like staying up for 24 hours and then sleeping for 12 hours. Some people also went the other way. After being up for 8 hours, they would sleep for maybe 1 hour and then wake up bright and ready to go. Honestly, this one amazes me because they would have had to lay down, REM sleep immediately, and then get out of REM and get up and going, I can't do this.
So you can train your body to get your sleep in many ways.
What you can't do is go to bed late and get up early and run hard all day. That will get to you and your health. Story 13. Insisting that self-care needs to be solitary and cost money. For most people, the self-care they really need is quality time with friends, family, and community, not buying some crap to put on your face while you're alone in the tub. Don't get me wrong, I'm an introvert and alone time keeps me sane, but I don't know if I've ever seen people celebrate self-care as being social. Connection with others and the world around us is a huge part of our general well-being. I just took the most relaxing vacation I've had in years, and I was with a lot of people. I got to rest my body and have a lot of leisure time. But I also got to be social and spend time chatting and laughing with people I liked. I came home feeling like a totally new person, genuinely restored, and I don't think that would have been true if I'd gone on this trip alone. One of my favorite self-care practices is going to my best friend's house on Sundays to do laundry and play cards with her and her kid. Free, and sends me into the coming week feeling centered and replenished. Story 14. I think some people cut others out of their lives instead of learning how to navigate complex emotions and situations. Sometimes it's the most healthy thing you can do, and sometimes it just seems like people are hiding or maybe engaging in some other destructive behavior. I have to agree. I have a genuinely insane family that I had to give up on after decades of trying. It was devastating. Having no family is so isolating. Then I hear of my elder Z kids cutting off lifelong friends over relatively small disagreements. Keyword relative. I'm not minimizing their challenges. My family is just comprised of street junkies and There's a weird big push to eliminate all toxicity from your life, and while I get the concept, people are so vastly different with so many different needs, it sounds exhausting to be constantly policing that. Story 15. Almost all of them. Life is not meant to be a constant emotional evolution, and you don't always have something you're meant to be improving on to get over there. Sometimes it's okay to just be how you are, without needing to grow or change. Toxic positivity, wellness, and self-improvement is to blame for many people feeling about themselves. Yes, this is so bad for our mental health to be told that we need to be doing something all the time. We need to be growing and studying and getting more in shape every single day. No, sometimes it is an accomplishment not to give up. For some people, at some point in their life, it is enough of a work to stay alive and do the basic chores. No room for growing. Simply just no energy and motivation. And when you are in the lowest of lows and have zero energy to do anything outside of work and sleeping, someone tells you that you are wasting your time rotting on the couch in the evening. No, if you need to sit in one place binge watching a series just so you don't give up, then be my guest. I'll make some popcorn. It is just a phase, period of time. It is not who you are as a person. I absolutely agree we need to grow and work to achieve our goals. But we should be allowing ourselves to just kick back when times are hard and prioritize our mental health above some fitness goal or monetary goal. Like a plant, if the environment is too harsh, it won't be growing. It will focus on staying alive. Alright folks, that's a wrap. If you like this, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your thoughts in the comment below.